Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting, this Halloween meeting of the Executive on the 31st of October 2023. My name is Councillor Paul Follows, and I'm Leader of the Council and Chairman of the Executive. Apologies for absence, Ben.
Thank you, Leader. We have apologies for absence from Councillors Merriweather and Mirrlees this evening.
Thank you very much. The minutes of the meeting of the 3rd of October have been published on the website, including the exempt minutes. Are you content for me to agree them and sign them? Thank you. Declarations of interest, anybody? Any declarations from the floor? None. Excellent. Item 4, questions from the public. Ben, have there been any questions?
There are none.
And questions from members?
And there are none.
Thank you very much. In which case we move to item 6, which is portfolio holder and leader updates. I'm going to start with everybody else first, and I'll go last at the end. Starting with Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Leader, and good evening. As the portfolio holder for IT, I'd like to update the Executive on the progress we have made in the last 6 months in our ambition to become a paperless council. After a trial period last year, our colleagues in IT selected a new Samsung device to replace the ancient iPad that many have been using for some years. 34 councillors have requested one of these new devices, which were introduced at the beginning of the new council period in May. 9 devices are still to be issued, and 10 councillors are content to use their own equipment, leaving 6 councillors who have not indicated in either way, but can have one if they wish. Now, for completely valid reasons, 10 councillors have asked that they continue to receive paper copies of the agendas, leaving 40 who are content to go paperless. This is a great result and will make a decent contribution to this council's quest to become carbon neutral. In addition, this will mean an appropriate saving of £20,000, approximate saving of £20,000 on the previous annual paper and postage costs, not to mention the time it takes to print, collate and mail. This will result in the new devices paying for themselves in the 2nd year of their use, not to mention helping councillors carry out the democratic duties they have been elected to perform. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Councillor Fairclough.
Thank you, Leader. No updates.
Thank you, Tony. Councillor Keele.
Thank you, Leader. Yesterday, we met with our Guildford Borough Council colleagues on their executive. This was an excellent opportunity for us to come together as a wider group, and we had productive discussions around the partnership vision, on financial matters, on the aim to co-locate our councils, and reflected on the recent motions discussed at each council, where we were able to restate our commitment to the collaboration. We also discussed the concept of joint meetings, and we look forward to seeing them at our next informal joint executive in the new year. The Joint Governance Committee is meeting tomorrow, where we will consider the terms of reference for the committee and review the inter-authority agreements. The first meeting of the Joint Constitution Review Group takes place on the 30th of November, where they will be considering the key decision thresholds and constitutional arrangements around the appointment and dismissal of senior officers, i.e. the officer employment procedure rules, and terms of reference of both council staffing committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Councillor Palmer.
No updates, but could I ask Councillor Clark what we should do with our old iPads?
Yes, if you hand them in to IT. I'm not surprised they haven't asked you for them.
Thank you, Nick. Councillor Rivers.
Thank you, Leader. Nothing to add at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you. Just very briefly, I just would like to thank the planning department. Last time I reported that to the executive that we hadn't been designated, and our performance on non-major applications is well into the 90% now, which is well above the 70% required threshold. And I would also like to just note that our appeals performance is also greatly underneath now the 10% threshold as well. So the planning department have been working really hard, and I'd like to thank them for that hard work. I'd also like to wish the bids for Godalming and Farnham good luck for tomorrow. And the leader and I will be attending at 3 o'clock at the Godalming bid, and then one of the officers will be attending the Farnham bid along with other Farnham members of the executive, I hope. And also, just finally, I had a meeting with as chair of the governance board on the Waverley Training Services. We met this week, and I would like to just thank the team there based in the Memorial Hall over in Farnham. And obviously, if any of councillors would like to pop in and see them, they're always open to visitors. But, you know, COVID was particularly hard for training and educational establishments, and it's taken a long time for things to get back on track. And that's down to the hard work of the team at the Memorial Hall there. And just they've been there since 1981. So, you know, it is amazing. And they work really hard providing, you know, work-based learning qualifications, apprenticeships, functional skills and employability skills as well to a range of learners. And, you know, I just like to thank them for that hard work, and look forward to working and expanding the training that they're doing there. Thank you, Leader.
Absolutely. Thank you, Liz. And finally, Councillor Williams.
Thank you. Following my response at the last executive meeting to Councillor Terry Weldon's question on solar canopies on car parks, I'm delighted to be able to report that the process of engagement is shortly to commence, starting with Farnham Town councillors on a proposal to mount solar canopies on the Upper Hart car park in Farnham. I hope that will be the first of many. Secondly, work is now proceeding to secure, with the support of a bid to the Public Sector Decarbonisation Fund, to decarbonise our leisure centres in Farnham, Godalming and Hazelmere. Farnham, as I think we know, presents the greatest challenge, as the solar PV can only be mounted on the roof once the current roof is replaced. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And just some final comments from me. I also want to just in public say thank you to the leader of Guildford Borough Council, Councillor Julia McShane, for her attendance yesterday here at the joint informal briefing of the two execs, and to all of her colleagues on the Guildford Borough Council exec for everything that they're doing and all of the work that they're putting in. I won't normally use this position to comment on a local matter, but it does pertain to a wider council matter too. I shall be meeting with Councillor Gale and the head of planning in regards to the enforcement of conditions regarding Milford Golf Course at the end of this week. And Councillor Townsend and I will be at the High Court in regards to the challenge, which obviously has some relation to that application, the following week, I believe Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Right, at which point we shall crack on with the agenda. Item 7 is the recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committees. As you will see, there are no recommendations to consider, which I'm sure means that we will get to a full council in the future where the opposition will vote entirely in favour of everything that we're doing and not raise any matters at all at the last minute at council. That flippancy aside, I will be attending the next two ONSs to ask a member's question of my own at both of those, to ask if they will be giving any due scrutiny and recommendations on some of these matters, because it has concerned me that many of these issues are raised last minute at full council, which executive and officers obviously do their best to respond to and answer. But these things should be done through the full scrutiny process with due time and due warning. So we'll be attending both ONSs to make that point, as I don't believe we've had more than one recommendation so far since the elections, and that was merely to look at something which was in their jurisdiction anyway, to conduct post-decision scrutiny. At that point, item 8, the software contract for regulatory services. This item is with Councillors Clark and Fairclough, and I believe I'm starting with Peter.
Thank you. Just a few comments on the IT side of this recommendation. And I'd like to thank Richard Holmwood for providing the words that I'm going to speak. Guildford Borough Council have been using iDocs software for about 9 years, and they have been working over that period to help develop the system and iron out any issues, which of course will be a benefit to Waverley. Guildford currently have a rolling annual contract for 70 users, which costs £527 per user, and Waverley will have 65 users at £400 per user. So Richard will be working with iDocs to try and reduce the cost at Guildford too. In terms of security, data security, Linda, our IT manager, has advised that we will take a copy of our live SQL Server database for them to run their extracting tool whilst they are testing, and then we'll run against the live database. So there will be no risk to our data. As well, we have multiple backups of the database as a further assurance. In terms of maintenance fees, excuse me, iDocs are effectively renting their system on their hosted platform to Waverley, rather than us making a significant capital purchase. So their maintenance fee, in fact, is providing more than just support. And finally, in terms of collaboration with Guildford, I think this is an important step forward, both in terms of service harmonisation as well as IT. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Tony, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Leader. Really only to endorse what Councillor Clark has already said. I mean, this is an excellent example of how Waverley benefits from the collaboration with Guildford. As Councillor Clark has said, Guildford have been running the iBucks system for 9 years. They're comfortable with it. They've worked with it, and indeed, having worked with it, they've improved it. Waverley are going to benefit from Guildford's knowledge and experience in this matter. As Councillor Clark has already said, there may even indeed be opportunities for Guildford themselves to benefit in terms of reduced costs from the contract. Quite simply, this is the ideal solution for the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Agreed. This is one of those opportunities where you can't understate, I think, sometimes the value of picking up all of the learning of use of a software like this over time. So I think that's definitely worth stating again. Any other speakers on this item before I move to the recommendation? So the recommendation will be taken by electronic vote. So if we could get that system ready to go. I am meant to tell you, of course, that it is for, against and abstain. For, abstain and against in that order on the lights. But now the lights aren't covered by stickers. Hopefully it's nice and clear again. So can I have everybody cast their votes for the recommendations as stated in the report? And as ever, the green donut prevails. Thank you very much, everyone. Item 9, exclusion of press and public. Pursuant to Procedure Rule 20 and in accordance with Section 100A, Paragraph 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the Executive agrees that the public be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following matter on the grounds that it is likely, in the view of the nature of the business to be transacted or the nature of the proceedings, that if members of the public were present during the item, there would be disclosure to them of exempt information as defined by Section 100I of the Act of the description specified in Paragraph 3 of the revised Part 1, Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, and 2, that public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. Can I have all those in favour of entering exempt session, please show? Thank you all.